CNBC TV 18 Young Turks Conclave, powered by SBI Yono.
Every year at the Conclave, we try to bring in speakers from different domains like music, fashion, food, film, because there is so much to learn from everyone's story. In fact, if you think about it, entrepreneurs and artists are very similar. They are both visionaries, both waiting to push the boundaries, both are passionate and, of course, inspiring. An artist's life, too, is determined by the differentiation they bring to the table and the will to keep going even in the face of constant rejections and challenges. It is determined by the choices they make. Our first speakers did just that. He made his debut with what many believed was an unconventional choice in Vicky Donor, and there was no stopping him ever since. Speaking of choice, our next speaker made the Bahubali of all choices, sweeping audience across India. He's gone on to expand the scope of his role as an investor with Anthill Studios, an accelerator for media and entertainment startups.
You're both actors, but you couldn't be more sort of dissimilar. One symbolizes strength, physical strength, and the other is the fountain of virility and fertility from the choices you've made. Ayushmann.
Well done.
It's a great combination, so I think.
You know, I thought I'd start by asking you, your primary identity, of course, is as actors. But both of you have had this very interesting journey before you got to this point, haven't you? Rana, you had a VFX company that you set up in the early days. You worked in production. You dabbled in gaming.
Yes.
Before you eventually...
For about 6 years before I got into being an actor.
Becoming an actor. Ayushmann, and this is despite belonging to a very prominent film family, correct? Ayushmann, you've done many things. Post-graduation in journalism. You were a radio jockey briefly. You were on MTV as a VJ. You were a television host. And then, of course, Shujit Sarkar kind of picked you for his film and changed your life forever. Do you think that this real-world perspective and this real-world wisdom that both of you really acquired in the early years benefits you as actors? And do you believe that others, your peers, many of your peers, who... insiders and outsiders, you know, those who belong to the industry and many that don't, but who grew up wanting to be actors and who grew up sort of working to become actors, don't have the benefit of that real-world perspective and wisdom?
Well, I guess, I mean, it's a journey is different for each one in the movies. I mean, no one person takes the same journey again.
Sure.
And, well, my real-world experience before being an actor obviously got me to being an actor. I just liked cinema, I just liked storytelling, I liked Star Wars, I liked big movies. And I thought visual effects and gaming was the way to go. Then I realized the actor is the one who controls everything in the movie business. and that brought me here. And I guess working for about 15, 16 years in the movies, you do so many different jobs. You start liking each of them very, very differently. So, like I said, each one's path's very different, and somebody's thought process who just wanted to become an actor, wanted to become a superstar, I guess their journey will be very different from
I ask because this business can be very insular. And those who've sort of grown up only training to become actors, very often you find that they're disconnected from a real world, from real world reality. Do you find that?
I think the entire formula, you make your own formula. There is no formula for success in films. It could be, you could be an engineer or a cricketer turned actor, anything. Whatever works for you. It's the sum total of your experiences you've had in real life that you probably incorporate on the celluloid. It also depends the kind of cinema you're doing.
True.
If you're doing a conventional commercial cinema, I think that training, that method of certain workshops, or maybe going to film schools, or just consuming films in your life, it may work for you. But if you're doing something like which is middle of the road cinema, or maybe parallel cinema, which is more close to reality, I think you need to know the reality.
Right.
That's the only thing.
What excites both of you the most about where we are currently, as a film and entertainment business? What really excites you about the current climate?
What excites me, one is the possibility of really making anything right now. As a filmmaker, as a storyteller, storytelling has become very democratic. I mean, you can choose to tell whatever story you want in whatever language you want in this country. And you know, there's a large country out there to watch you if you're right.
That's true, isn't it?
Yeah. So I think that's probably the best part in which we were. And second, I mean, the rise of this digital era has, and the cell phone in each one's hands. I mean, obviously you need a lot of content on it to kind of be with it. So it's the right time for content makers to be around, I guess.
It's very exciting to be an actor right now. Not just an actor, but also a director, producer, scriptwriter, any creative person, because you get your chance, you get your glory. If you're talented, it's such a democratic, secular world out there. It's we have overused the word nepotism, but I think it's gone beyond that, because this is the time where there's room for everybody.
Right.
Like if you're talented, not just an actor, but also as a journalist, then you're there.
Sure. You know, to take on from what you said, to go a little further ahead, you said the digital landscape. I mean, what's the whole digital disruption, if you like? How does that sort of embolden you as actors? What sort of opportunities do you find? And also, do you believe that traditional, conventional cinema has to pull up its socks, given that everything's changing so rapidly as far as the digital disruption is concerned?
See, one is, it's more than pull up the socks, it's understanding where the story is to be told. Eventually, cinema theaters will become spaces of entertainment where big spectacle cinema will be watched. That wouldn't be I mean, nobody would want to watch an Avengers or Bahubali on a cell phone. I mean, that's not what that cinema is made for. But you want drama, that stuff that you can watch on your cell phone. I mean, you beat time. I mean, there's no 2.5 hours. You see shows now that the drama is told much better than cinema, because for a simple reason that characters can be stretched much longer, written much better, and that. So I guess each storyteller will find his form on different platforms, and some will just cut across multiple of those.
Does that worry you, Ayushmann? I mean, look at the films that you've been making lately, the ones that have really popped. You know, a film like Andhadhun, a film like Badai Ho, which is a drama. It's not necessarily a tentpole kind of movie, which is what America fears is all that's going to be left in the on the big screen. Do you worry about that maybe those films will not be made for the big screen anymore?
You talked about pulling up your socks. The socks need to be eclectic, like right there. Amazing.
Well done.
Looks good.
See, I'm old school.
You are big screen. So I guess, of course, disruption is required everywhere. It's just this whole cinematic experience. Like, watching a film with like a lot of people in one arena gives you a different high. It's like just watching a cricket match on screen, or you think of not going to the stadiums. Stadiums will always be full if there's an interesting match. Theaters will always be full if there's an interesting piece of cinema in the theaters. Doesn't matter how big the scale is. Yes, of course, a film like Bahubali or a conventional commercial cinema, you have to have that cinematic experience on the big screen. But I think the whole experience of watching a good film with a lot of people, with multiple laughters, it's a different
That's actually
experience.
true. The whole shared experience, it doesn't have to necessarily be a Bahubali or an Avengers
and
only.
See, the beauty about cinema in that sense in a movie theater is it's not in your control. No, you can't pause it, you can't forward it, you can't do anything. You just sit and be part of that story. So I guess that's the speciality that a movie theater will always have.
In the West, Meryl Streep, Julia Roberts, Nicole Kidman, Reese Witherspoon, they're all working on television or on, digital shows. Is that something that you're open to, assuming that it's a great story? And
more than happy to. I mean, see, ultimately, it's a story we have to tell, right? And whatever the format that is right for telling it, I guess we'll just find that and go ahead and tell it.
The kind of cinema that I do, I think I look out for ideas which are radical, quirky, out of the box, novel. I think and censorship is less on digital media.
Correct.
On digital media.
In your case, I feel like you just, if there is a strange idea being made, you're like sort of top of the list, right?
I'll go for it.
If there's a filmmaker, if he's got something that's sort of weird, if it involves sexuality in some way, Ayushmann's
not necessarily sexuality, but whatever.
Listen, you played someone who had erectile dysfunction. You played someone who's a sperm donor. Now you play someone whose parents are wonderfully fertile till quite late.
That's like a prequel to Wiki Donor. Like the talent comes from the father.
True.
It's like that.
In what way does the success that you've had, and most recently, in your case, you know, there have been 4 films in a row that have worked. In your case, certainly something like Bahubali, which has really empowered you. How has that recent success empowered you to follow the dreams or the goals that you've set for yourself?
See, one to me, Bahubali to us was like what Star Wars did to America back then. I think what Bahubali did that to all of us. Not particularly because I'm in the film, but as an industry itself. It was a regional film that was made in Telugu. It is very rare that a Telugu film is usually dubbed in any other language apart from Telugu itself. But here you have a film that's cut across languages. Then after that you started having many more films in that circuit. So it really is like, now you know that wherever you are, you don't have to be in a certain place to make a film. You just stand up there, you have a story to tell, and you can go ahead and tell it. And there's a whole auditorium that will come together much, much better than before. I think that's what made it possible. Right. And the whole world of transmedia actually kind of opened up with Bahubali to us, understanding that the film stays much beyond just the sequel or just in the theatre space. Correct. Moving into the books, moving into the shows.
There are books, there's an animation show.
There's comic books, there's
a live-action prequel.
There's a live-action prequel on Netflix that's coming up. So a lot of it.
The world of Bahubali lives on.
The world of Bahubali lives on.
Ayushmann?
Listen, I can't relate to this. My films don't do 200, 300 crores. So, I don't know what you're talking about. But yeah, having said that, I think success...
But look at the films.
Yeah, but Badayu is reaching 100 crores, yeah.
That's true, that's
great.
True. It's at 90 point something today.
It has become a case study of sorts. A film on that subject is doing so well. Even Andhadhun for that matter, almost 65 or something, which is great. But I guess success gives you a strange encouragement that the path that you're following is right, and probably gives you more self-belief in the sensibilities that you're following. And I think that's amazing. But overall, I've always believed that success is a very lousy teacher. Your rejections, your failures, they teach you a lot. They're your friends, philosopher, and guides in life. One elderly woman also gave me a peck at the airport today. It was very sweet. Like, tu ek perfect beta hai, raja beta hai, tu sarva gun sampann bachcha hai. Like, this is the magic of cinema that we have. Right. I think this Raja beta I'm hearing after like 20 years. My grandmother used to call me when she was alive. But, you know, it was very overwhelming. The kind of reactions we get, people believe in you, what they see. Right. And I think the film Badhai Ho is like, you know, you're sitting with Kaushik family right there. True. So I think it's just the magic of cinema.
Rana, you know, before you came down just now when we were backstage, there were some colleagues of mine who were like, let's see how big he looks. I feel like that's something like now, do people find that do you find that people are like sort of disappointed to find that you've sort of leaned down and for the next role?
Yeah, of course. I think that's the image, but I used to look like this most of the time before Bahubali started. Right. But yeah, so the newest film that I'm playing is I'm playing the role of Mr. Chandrababu Naidu, the Chief Minister of Andhra Pradesh, in the NTR biopic, so I had to look like him, which is why I'm Potter my size, the Bahubali size.
You know, Shah Rukh Khan famously said once, he's an employee of the Shah Rukh Khan brand. Jay-Z, the great musician and entrepreneur, said, I'm not a businessman, I'm a businessman. You know, do you see yourselves, and do you think it's important today to sort of see yourselves as brands?
I come from a fully different ideology or a fully different workspace. I'm employed by a studio and I'm also an actor. So I guess my rhythm and beats are different the way I operate. I work for a production house, I work for a tech company, I work for an agency, and I'm a film actor. So I have 4 or 5 different jobs. And I help in building actors' brands. I say that's pretty much what we do.
Rana, aren't you someone who stands for technology? I mean, aren't you someone who likes to see himself as that? Because I could, and you have to correct me, I know zilch about technology and investments. You've been key to forging this partnership between your family production company, Suresh Productions, and Anthill Ventures. You've created Anthill Studios. You'll have created, I know your partners here. This is an outfit that is going to enable select startups, raise investments up to $1 million each.
Yes, in the media and entertainment section. Right. And see, the real reason for doing all of this is obviously to scale to the needs of what's happening right now. I mean, there is the want for films is so much, or want for content has become 200-300 times more than what it used to be. But we're not equipped or engaged to do all of it correctly in a certain method. Let's talk about virtual reality. I mean, that I feel is the next or the fastest way of immersive storytelling, which is completely different from the traditional art form that you're used to. And the good thing about technology is it obviously gets cheaper and cheaper as we go along. And when you find more content makers, if we have that ecosystem in India that we're able to build in the next few years, of storytellers making stories in the virtual reality, I mean, that's something that we will consume a lot.
Ayushmann, how do you sort of see yourself as I mean, what would you like the brand Ayushmann to sort of represent?
Just to give a promise that the films from my side will be novel, interesting, unique, out of the box, without any reference in the Indian cinema. I can only make good choices, right choices, and I never thought about Ayushmann as a brand per se. I always thought of doing good content. That's about it. I think it's just the result of good content that eventually reflects, or maybe it creates a brand of, like your brand of cinema in a way.
Does success put a lot of pressure?
Well, it gets work done. That's a good thing.
So
Gives you this platform to interact with people and be in touch with the audience, or maybe get a good perspective out there. And that's about it. And more than anything else, it's a chain reaction.
But see, the one thing is, I mean, the idea of success, or what we've been learning over the years when I've been working in the movie so far, is we have a skill of usually trying to replicate that same success over and over again with similar kind of stuff. I mean, that's something that we need to break out of, start experimenting, understanding newer types of storytelling, and fail in a few, and then understand what the right method is. I think that's really the cycle that we need to see, and the more cycles you see, the longer you stay in the movie business.
As they say, whatever is working right now may not work 5 years from now.
Right.
It is ever changing. It's so volatile. The market is volatile. At the same time, I think the middle of the road cinema will never go out of fashion, because I think the critical acclaim, commercial acclaim, the middle part of the congruent area of the two will always stay. It's here to stay, I think.
Rana, you've had this great opportunity, and I want to ask you about that, about being a crossover actor. Early on, early on after your debut in Telugu cinema, you made a Hindi film, and you've been consistently sort of showing up. A film like Bahubali was a multilingual film. Ghazi was a bilingual, trilingual.
I try to shoot a bunch of languages.
You've got another one coming that
Yes.
you're going to start shooting soon.
Shooting for soon.
An elephant movie.
Yes.
Was that by design?
I don't know if it was by design or by accident. It really was. I don't know, when the time I started, became an actor rather in Telugu. I started with Leader. That was my first film.
Yeah.
Regional cinema didn't have many genres that we could experiment with, or we could do. I mean, there was one standard format of a commercial film, and that's, like when I said, we try to make repetitive formulas out of what we do. So that was the beat of what was going on. And which point Hindi kind of offered all of these independent films. I mean, you could do, the first film was Dammarodam, which was a film about drugs in Goa, and you could never do that in Telugu, right?
Right.
So as an actor, it got me to explore different things, and then ultimately you get to understand that it's a film that you want to make. You can actually really be anywhere and make it, and it's only a language is one functionality of all of these things.
Right. Is that an opportunity you're hoping comes along as well, Ayushmann?
You know, the other language I know is Punjabi.
Right.
And we do, right till now, I think we've only made a formula commercial Punjabi film. Only comedy works there.
Correct.
Most of the stars are actor singers, which I am.
Right.
So I don't know.
So you're certainly proud for that.
That's there. I tick all the barometers.
Now we
boxes.
just have to make a film.
Yeah,
Let's
I don't
do
know,
this.
but I think it will be revolutionary if you make a quirky subject in Punjabi. It'll be great.
Right.
So I'm just waiting for that. Let's see. But again, at the same time, I'm a linguist. I catch languages quite easily, especially Indian languages. I would love to do something in Bengali, Marathi, or down south. I don't know. It depends on the material. That's it.
Okay. My last question before, I don't know if we have time to open it out to the audience. I'm just going to very quickly say, do you have a 5-year plan? Do you have a goal that you've set for yourself? What sort of, I mean, any of us that are in normal jobs or in sort of not glamorous, exciting jobs, like you all have sort of, goals that we set. What is a goal or the 5-year plan? Where would you like to see yourselves?
Well, where would I like to see myself? See, again, while I speak part of the companies that I work for and myself. It's ultimately to create an ecosystem for many filmmakers without any language bars to come and make films that they want. It's to create an ecosystem of transmedia where a film can last beyond exhibition only. And there's an opportunity to do merchandising, there's an opportunity to get them all live back in many other entertainment or consumable forms. I think that's really where I'm looking at a 5-year path. I don't know, I mean, we're not fixed or rigid in terms of how we're going to get there. I guess the opportunities will show us the way to, but that's the focus for the next 5 years.
When you say 5-year plan, it just sounds too sarkari. What's your 5-year plan or something like that? Right. But I think the plan is to curate good content. I think the future superstars are content curators more than a superstar or star in the whatever. But I think you need to take care of the content, be empathetic towards people, give something relatable to them, and entertain them at the same time. Otherwise, it's just become a documentary. It has to be, of course, as I said, the middle of the road will never go out of fashion. Right. And it's here to stay. That's it. It's that simple.
Wonderful. Many, many congratulations. You're both incredible actors who've done some wonderful work, given us some great cinema. Many congratulations. Looking forward to lots more. We are looking forward to what you do the next 5 years, even if you haven't got it all planned out just yet.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Huge round of applause for young Turks in cinema once again, please. Gentlemen, request you to kindly accept our token of appreciation from our gift partners, Dar Milano and Turks.
CNBC TV 18 Young Turks Conclave, powered by SBI YONO.